So I'm going to unplug shore power now, so you'll see that 5 watts on the left drop out, so that we can do our little test. Okay, so you should see that disappear. So I'll turn this over now to induction hot plate. So I'll reach in and turn it on at the power. So you can see it's doing its thing there. So I'll hit menu. So that's saying error 1 because there's nothing on it. Put down on it. And I'll drop that down to 1000. And let's see what that's doing here. So on the 1000 setting, just over 1000 watts as an AC load, but nearly 1300 coming out of the battery and 94 odd amps. So let's go back again. Wrap it up one. So that's the 1200 setting theoretically. Well, let's go back up here. So AC's 1230 odd, but really coming out of the battery is 120 amps, nearly 1600 watts. Now notice the voltage down there is at 13.1, being a lithium system, we're not getting voltage drop. Let's see what we go on the next step. 1400. So just shy of 1300 on the AC loads, nearly 1800 coming out of the battery. And you'll notice nothing else is really running, just getting a little bit of solar. 12.9 volts. So theoretically, this inverter is rated for 1300 watts, but it can surge. Let's go a little higher. So 1600. So the AC load is more than the inverter is rated for theoretically, but we're pulling a lot out of the battery. 136 odd amps. We'll go one more. This is the most I'm willing to go. So we're pulling nearly 1700 watts here. It's circulating. And over there, you probably can't quite hear it, but you can I can certainly hear the fan running in the inverter. So let's turn it down. So we've dropped down to 1000. Let's see how it settles down. And you can see even in this time we've dropped 3% of the battery. But 3% of a lithium battery isn't the same as 3% of an AGM. So running at 1000 watts there. So let's make sure this is looking good. Let's put the stake on. So I've just had it out of the fridge. Nothing really special. It's still probably about 10 degrees. And I'm going to let you watch this in real time. So one of the great things about induction cooking is it can be windy and it doesn't affect anything. If you think about a butane stove on a cold morning, you don't have that sort of trouble with induction. If you think about a windy day on gas, you have trouble keeping the heat up, you don't have that trouble on induction. The other thing I like is the fact I don't have to buy gas. This is theoretically fully sustainable. Any power I'm getting from solar, I can convert into cooking. Now I can put my hand here and it's not hot. Oh, keep the timer. See, I can touch like that, and there's no heat. I can feel heat here, because induction only heats metal. And I'll show you a quick example of what it won't do. So this is a stainless pan. Put that on there. Says error 1. Can't heat that. So I'll give this a flip in a second. What I like to do is gently cook my steak for a little while and then tear it off at the end. I like a rare steak, but I don't like it cold in the middle. There are some people that don't really understand that when they're cooking a steak is I don't want it bloody and blah blah blah. I'll often order a blue steak because some people really don't know what I want. I want a steak that's above 60 degrees in the middle, at least 55. And here a little bit of juice is coming out. Now I'll give this a flip more so that you can see what it looks like on the other side than it needs a flip. So you can see there, even at 1000 watts, it's getting a sear on it. Is it a fantastic sear? It's arguable. But there is a learning curve that comes with cooking steak on induction. I could ramp this up to 1600 and that would be black as. So you don't need to cook as hot as you would think. And just lift up the side here. So you can see it's cooked for a little, but not a lot. When you look at the tenderness of the steak, it's still got heaps to go. In my next video I'll do bacon and eggs in the same setup, and it'll take probably this long. I'm just going to scroll up to the Victron screen. So we're pulling 1000 watts, used about 6% of our 240 amp hour battery. We're sitting at 12.9 volts happily under load. The fridges are still running. It's still at 4 degrees. It's still at -9, -10. Oh, I'm still cooking with gas over here. Isn't that an ironic saying when I'm cooking with induction? Right, so I'm going to give that a flip again, just so you can see. So there is a char on that side, isn't there? So it's almost 9 minutes and 7% of our battery. And I'm going to ramp this up now to get a really good char on it. You can't complain about that brownness. So at 1400 on the display there, just a little less than 1400 on the AC loads, but pulling a lot more from the battery. But you'll see there's also power going to the DC system. I'm pulling about 140 amps right now. Let's flip her over and check the sear. Right, so for me, I'm going to set this to rest now. So you'll see the fan still running because it needs to cool down the insides of it. So one of the complaints people make is, oh, you need special pots and pans. You saw that pot that I used before doesn't work on induction. This frying pan I'm using was $30 at Woolworths, just in everyday grocery store. It just had induction written on it. You don't need to go and spend huge lumps of money to get what you want. So in summary, we use 8% of our battery. We're back up to 13.2 volts. It's rebounded. We're using very little. And the fan's just kicked off. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to move that off there, out of the way. You can't say that doesn't have a char on it, can you? Right, so now I'm doing mashed potato. So over here I have a little kettle. So I've just pressed that on. You might not be able to see the light. And let's see what we're saying over here. So again, just over 1,000 watts, pulling about 100 amps. But we're not going to need this on for very long. You can hear it bubbling away already. So what I'm going to do is mix that boiling water with the dead potato I've got in there, and I've got steak and mash in 12 minutes. You can hear it, and I'll let you keep looking at that so you'll hear it go click. Still pulling just under 100 amps and 1,000 watts. This kettle was expensive, but it's a 1,000 watt kettle rather than a 2,000 watt kettle, so I'm happy with that. Where did I buy that? I think it was BCF or Anaconda. There's two versions of the pop-up kettle. One goes on the stove and one goes electric like that one. So you can see that's boiled pretty quick. I can see steam coming out. I don't think you guys can. But you can certainly see it bubbling around in there. Still pulling 1,000 watts. And I've just heard it click. So that power should drop right off now. You can see there we're down to nothing. Over there down to nothing. And we're boiled. So, 14 minutes, 9% of our battery. So that's our steak plated up. I'll just cut straight into this, right in the middle so you can see what level of doneness we've got. So there's no red in there at all after it's rested. And that's the instant mash. 544 grams. So it's enough steak for 2 or maybe 3 people. All right, I'm going to go and enjoy that.